Hi guys, my name is Swastika. I gave the 2023 CLAT and I got into Rajiv Gandhi National University of Law. And today I'll be discussing figure of speech or literary devices with you guys. So, what is a figure of speech? A figure of speech is any word or expression that is used in a metaphorical sense rather than a literal sense. So, any expression that uses words to convey a meaning that is different from their original meaning, that is a figure of speech or a literary device. So, now moving on to the types of literary devices. This list is not exhaustive. There may be other types of literary devices, but I've noted down the most important ones for you all. First up is alliteration. So, alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds right next to each other at the beginning of each word, which creates a memorable or melodic effect. So, the repetition of consonant sounds at the beginning of each word, which are right next to one another. Next is anaphora. Anaphora is the repetition of the same word or phrase at the beginning of consecutive sentences or verses. So, alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds right next to each other. Anaphora is the repetition of same word or phrase at the beginning of each consecutive sentence or verse. Next is antithesis. So, antithesis is the pairing of exact opposite or contracting ideas or things next to one another in order to draw out their contrast or in order to draw out their difference. Next is apostrophe. Okay, apostrophe is it is used when to address someone who is absent or deceased, or it can also be used to address an abstract quality, a concept, an idea, or even an inanimate object for that matter. Next is euphemism. So, euphemism is when any word or phrase is used to avoid saying an unpleasant or an offensive thing. So, when that unpleasant or offensive thing is replaced with a milder version, that's when the figure of speech is literally is euphemism. Like we say couch potato for someone who is lazy, that is a euphemism. Or we say that someone has lost someone to refer to the fact that someone has died, that is euphemism. We are telling the we are telling the hard thing in a harsh thing but in a milder manner. Next is hyperbole. So, hyperbole is the deliberate use of exaggerated terms in order to add emphasis or urgency or excitement to a statement or a situation. Next is irony. Okay, so irony is the use of words to convey the opposite of their literal meaning. So, when there is a marked contrast between what is said and what is meant, that's when the figure of speech is irony. For example, if the quote goes like, I swear I never swear, I detest the habit. What the devil do you mean? So, just now the speaker said that he does not swear, and in the very next sentence, he said that what the devil do you mean? So, there's a stark contrast between what is meant and what is said. Next is metaphor. Metaphor is used to make a comparison between two unlikely things or ideas, but a metaphor is an implied comparison. Like the author does not tell us directly that object A is similar to object B, it is implied. We have to understand it on our own. Next up is metonymy. Metonymy happens when one word or a phrase is substituted for another which it is closely associated. I'll give you an example. If I say lend me your ears, it basically means to hear, to listen to me, right? To hear what I'm saying. So listening and hearing and ears, it's closely associated. So the term hearing is replaced with the term ears. So saying listen to me becomes lend me your ears. So when one word or phrase is substituted with another with which it is closely associated. Next is onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia are sounding words basically. So when the words imitate the sounds that are associated with the objects or the actions that they refer to. For example, whistling. The action is whistling, and also the sound that it makes is also whistling. So those are sounding words, when the words imitate the sounds that are associated with that action. Next is oxymoron. Oxymoron is the use of two opposite or contradictory terms right next to one another, which creates a new meaning. Next is paradox. Paradox, it's a statement that appears to contradict itself, but it has some truth, some theme, or some humor in it. So these are basically very confusing types of statements, but if you go, like if you study it, you carefully, you'll see that it has some truth or some humor to it. Next is personification. So personification is used to attribute human characteristics to non-living things or ideas. Okay. Next up is pun. Pun is a play of words that have more than one meaning, or those that sound alike. So a pun purposefully substitutes words that sound similar to one another but have different meanings. So it completely changes the meaning of the sentence or the meaning of the dialogue that is going on between two characters, for example. Next up is simile. So simile is very similar to metaphor. Simile happens when two fundamentally dissimilar things are compared to one another, but these are compared using words such as like or as. So here the comparison is a direct comparison, but in metaphor it was an implied comparison. Okay, next up is synecdoche. Synecdoche is the use of term that refers to a part of something to substitute for the whole thing, or reversely, the whole is represented by the part. Like say, if I say waves and I'm referring to the ocean, so waves is a part of the ocean, right? So I'm using a part of something to refer to the whole thing, to substitute for the whole thing. That's when the figure of speech becomes synecdoche. Next is transferred epithet. So an epithet is any word or phrase that describes the main quality of something or someone. So basically an adjective. Okay, so when one adjective, which is usually used to describe one thing, is transferred to another, adjective mainly used to describe one thing is transferred to another thing, that's when it becomes transferred epithet. It basically means that when the quality of one noun is assigned to another noun, it is called an transferred epithet. So this results in the adjective being attached to a noun that it does not belong to. Like we say gloomy days or tired days. It means that we were the ones who were gloomy, we were the ones who were tired, but it is used to refer to the epithet that is gloomy is used to refer to the noun that is days. So it is transferred from us to the noun days. Next up is understatement. So understatement is the intentional downplaying of a situation. Okay, so it is maybe used to make a situation seem less important or serious than it is. That's all for literary devices, and I hope you understood the video. Thank you.